All right. Let's see. Does the audio work? It's been 2 whole weeks. My mic's up. I don't see anybody freaking out. Brandon, say a word for the people. I know you're screwing with me now. Yeah, you can't get me anymore. No. I got all my levels up. There we go. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Jack Ramsey's Danny Marang, Brandon Sprague, back after a 2-week break. Mine because of Pac-12 Media Days and the world going on around it. Brandon because he took over Bandon Dunes and made it into Brandon Dunes.
Yeah, baby.
But we are back. It is time. The off-season grades are upon us. What Brandon and I think, maybe drilled home perhaps too much from basically February on. Wait until August 1st. Well, it's August 4th.
Close enough.
Sue me. It was a couple days late. I'll be honest, I was still wiped this weekend from Pac-12 Media Days.
That's a show that sounds amazing and easy and fun, and then you do it and you're like, oh, I'm interviewing another person right now. Oh, and now another person. Oh, and now another person.
28 interviews.
Yep.
Were performed from 8 in the morning.
Yeah.
Until 3:15 in the afternoon.
Yep.
And
none of them, like half of them, you're like, why am I interviewing this person?
You know
but
what?
They just kind of come to your table and you're like, okay, sit down. Let's have a conversation.
I had a blast. And every coach, with the exception of Herm, because we got Herm at like 3:10.
Oh, my God. We missed Herm last year. He didn't show up until 3:40. We literally had to leave to catch our flight.
And that's like he was our last one. He looked like he was ready to go.
Well, Herm, here's the secret. Herm loves to talk.
Mm-hmm.
Herm doesn't want to talk with everybody because Herm has to answer the same questions over and over. Why you cheating? Why you cheating?
Yeah, it doesn't go well.
No.
But my turnaround was Thursday afternoon, do the show, noon to 3, drive an hour and a half to the airport, get on the plane, fly down there. Dusty picks me up, I think, at like 10. We drive from Burbank up to LA Live. We tried to go get dinner and a drink at Yard House, and their POS system actually shut down. And so we couldn't get anything to eat or drink because there's like no other food open.
There's a Denny's kind of by LA Live.
Yeah, we had reached the point of like it's midnight.
Oh shit! Okay.
Yeah, so we get to sleep probably about 12:31. Get up at 6. Go do the show. I mean, it's go. We literally packed up our stuff, drove to John Wayne Airport. Dusty got stuck. It took him like 3 hours to get back. Those that don't know, Dusty was on vacation in Laguna. So he was already down there. But I tried to make it easier for him by not going to LAX, and it made it significantly worse. But lo and behold, I got home after I drove home from the airport almost 11. So like it was just 2 straight days of just go.
Turn and burn.
And
yep.
I'm washed, y'all. I'll admit it. I am washed, and it kicked my ass. But the long roundabout way of getting to it, I'm thrilled everybody's back. Thank you all. We appreciate the support. All the people who reached out and said, "Where are you? I need you." Did a little crossover with Richmond the other day. I gave him an hour and a half's worth of content. You're right. You owe me, Mike.
Yeah, when are we going to be paying up on that one, by the way?
Well, I won't make him do it in the summer. He's taking a lovely vacation with his wife.
There you go.
I don't know if he said where he's going, so I won't say where he's going. But he's got some time off coming. So
can I ask you something?
Yeah.
So like I'm all about privacy. Is telling people where somebody's going on vacation like a breach of confidentiality?
I don't know. I always just like, maybe it's got a little thing.
Must be left alone in like Tahiti. Like
I don't know, man. Some people listen. I don't care.
I'm just saying that's kind of an odd thing. Like,
I'd rather be like, you don't really need to avoid that. Like let everybody talk about their own stuff as opposed to, wish you wouldn't have said that. You know,
really?
Some people are super, super private.
Really?
Like,
okay.
I've just been. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But I'm not going anywhere now. I think I think might be going to a Seahawks camp, maybe.
I believe you guys are doing I think you're doing a fall camp show up there.
Yeah, I think so. So,
which is another one that's like, it's a cool experience.
It's a turn and burn, baby.
But yeah, it's like a drive up, come right back down.
And maybe we have a college football kickoff show. So we got all kinds of stuff coming. I can say that now. The we at 1080.
Yeah, welcome to the team, man.
It's weird.
You've been there over what? Over a month?
Yeah, we just hit a month. So my official start date was July 1st, even though I think I was in the building like a week before that. But Lester says, when are you getting some of the players in for an interview? So as much as Brandon and I have taken a break, guess what the players are doing? Hey, yeah, I'll get back to you in a couple weeks.
Couple weeks, yeah.
Most of the guys are going to come back to town here in about 2 weeks, and that's when we'll start getting guys coming in. So Ant has already said he's going to come on. I'm waiting to hear back from Nas and his reps. I am working on Jabari, and hopefully maybe probably pretty unlikely. I'm trying to get Shaedon, though. So we'll see how – because we were supposed to have him in Vegas. So, but
yeah, everything went to crap.
So, hopefully we can get him. But those are the guys I have for sure, and hopefully we'll have some other guys on as well. I just realized I just put my mic cover on, like I just turned it towards the camera. My apparently my puppy chewed on my pop cover. Let me go ahead.
Jumped up on the old chair and got it with the mouth, huh?
Yeah, okay. Rotate that one around a little bit. But again, thank you all. Welcome back, Brandon. Good to be back. How was golfing?
Golfing was golfing. It's the greatest place you can go in the world, and I don't want to talk about it anymore because it was my vacation, and I don't want to share. That's private.
There you go. It's private.
I am super washed though. Our last night there was Sunday. Me and a buddy were planning to leave later. My brother-in-law and his brother left early, and it's the last night. You just finished your last round, and we had all these grandiose plans of, hey, we're gonna smoke this joint, we're gonna have a few drinks, and we're gonna celebrate. And I will tell you, by the end of the night, we went to go get dinner, and we were all sitting at that table, and we were all like falling asleep. And
Time to go.
Yeah, I mean, and we got done kind of late, so we basically went back to our rooms, and we were all in bed by like 10:30. It was just one of those trips, man. We went super hard. And
how'd you shoot?
I actually shot pretty well. I didn't score well, but I shot well.
Okay.
I could not. If anybody's ever golfed,
Bannon can do that to you.
You better be able to putt.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you go during the U.S. Amateur Week, when they dial up the greens even faster, and a little tap and the ball's right off the green.
Whee!
And you do even more of a tap and it goes 7 feet short. So a lot of tough, difficult putt situations. Otherwise, I played pretty well.
I had somebody in here. Hunter says, I'm afraid Danny is missing all of NBC's close-up shots of Derek Carr's hip thrust warm-ups. Oh, don't you worry your sweet little heart. I've got the game going over on the other.
You guys are already up 3-0, baby.
I mean, that's champions.
There you go.
Taking on Jeff Rust's Jacksonville Jaguars.
The Jaguars, baby.
Right, let's get to the basketball side of things. I feel like I need to preemptively spend time on this because some of you are losing your collective minds. Camp contracts happen every single year.
But when it gets on the bike.
That was interesting. The ESP or the NBC app decided to play through the desktop there for a split second.
Oh, shoot.
It was muted the whole time, then it decided to it was a commercial for something. I was like, what? That was weird. But camp contracts happen every year. Everybody's got to stop freaking out. They added more guards. It doesn't matter. What I think everybody's failing to understand here is, number one, they're not. I shouldn't say they're not because who knows? Maybe they strike gold, and a guy they're just like, this is the guy that we really want to make sure we look at and develop with a two-way contract. However, that is not the case here. That is not what they are looking to do. These are Exhibit 10 contracts, which guarantee a guy to camp $50,000. Great money if you can find it. Great money if you can find it. $50,000 guaranteed for a training camp, and that allows the Blazers or whatever team offers it it's signed for up to $925,000 and the ability to convert to a two-way or a regular contract, otherwise known as a training camp invite contract. Mm-hmm. Just because Shams says something really stupid, like he's going to compete for a roster spot, that's Shams carrying the water of an agent.
Yeah, that's massaging the message really hard for somebody.
I said it the other day, shout out to Woj for getting the contract right, because the last one he called, which is Norvell Pell, I literally said this, shouts to Woj for calling it a training camp deal. Because the other one, Shams, and even Haynes, is like, no, they're going to compete for a spot. There's no roster spot. There's a two-way contract that's available. That's the only thing that's available right now. It's a body for camp, and this is why. There's going to be preseason games Damian Lillard and Anfernee Simons and Josh Hart do not play in. At all. Mm-hmm. There's going to be practices where those guys are sitting out or resting or chilling. It's their training camp bodies. This happens with every team around the league. And it's like everybody kind of forgot that happens. Chill.
Yeah, I caught a glimpse of this yesterday, and I kind of just laughed and closed my phone. I thought it was common knowledge. I thought that was like a universal. We all know that guys are going to get signed to training camp deals, and that's exclusively just training camp. I remember former Oregon State player Seth Tarver, who was Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year. He was a good player, but not quite NBA level. I think he had 2 seasons where he got invited to the training camp for Portland. So
they used to invite local guys specifically.
I just assumed everybody knew, but I mean, I guess because of Shams' wording, which isn't surprising because the dude tweets and then deletes and then tweets and then deletes and then tweets. I guess because of that, people got anxious or weird about more guards coming in, whereas I just kind of looked at it and was like, it's training camp. Like, those dudes are going to get cut. I don't really concern myself with that stuff. So I don't know. I thought it was weird that a few people were freaking out and acting like that was some big major deal, when the reality is this happens every year for teams. Yeah.
That's fundamentally what it comes down to.
I was stumped that people didn't know that.
Derek's asking how much are training camp deals typically, anyone? If you're talking about money, they're $50,000 guaranteed. And then if you get waived after training camp, that's it. Mm-hmm. But like I said, it's $50,000 for 2 weeks. Great money if you can find it. That's a nice way to go. Andrew says, didn't we have GP2 on a training camp deal years ago? I'm not certain, but I'm pretty sure he was a training camp invite.
He was. 2018, he came in, and I looked it up. He got cut.
I think he got a 10-day that season, though, too.
Well, I mean, to be fair to not just, like, Portland, but, like, the whole league was like, you're not good enough.
Yeah. No, he had 10 stops before he got a real deal with the Warriors. So everybody missed. It's okay. I mean, if you want to hold Neil accountable for that one and kind of roast him, by all means, go for it. I have no problem with it.
We're not mad at that.
No, go ahead. But I said something along the lines of this, like, guard has become a 4-letter word in Portland. Like, everybody's, like, traumatized by Neil O'Shea stockpiling guards. They aren't shoehorning anybody into a position. Like, if you look at how they sit right now, Dame's going to play some 1 and 2. Ant's going to play some 1 and 2. GP2's going to play some 1 and 2. Hart's going to play some 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. Mm-hmm. Like, guys are going to fit into spots a little bit better. Now, it's dicey when they start getting to the depth, certainly, which kind of leads to where I want to go now. We're there, Brandon. Off-season grade time.
Off-season grade time. This is the roster.
Grade time.
Yep.
Where do we start here? I think the best place to start is back in February.
Okay.
If I told you coming out of trading CJ, Nance, Norm, Cove. That you got Shaedon, Jabari, Jerami Grant, GP2, and then the ability to re-sign, I don't really like doing that, but Nurk, Simons, and Eubanks. But if I told you swapped out those 4 for those 4, while the books look better, what is your if I put you back in time and I told you traded those 4 players for those 4 players, what is your thought process?
I think my initial reaction is, okay, CJ didn't get quite what I hoped, but not shocked. And then I kind of look at it and I say, you traded out some offense because you prioritize defense. You prioritize versatility at the 4, which is something they've largely lacked. You're able to keep your young asset happy. I don't know if I would have gotten super excited about Jabari at that point, because you would have said 2nd-round guy out of Colorado, and I would have said, cool, guy that's not going to play. Don't know much about him.
And I should add Hart too. I just talking about Hart, so
Shaedon would have got me excited if he said, hey, 7th pick, they used that pick, they didn't trade it. He would have got me excited just because I like to see the young talent come up, and if you can hit on that, it can go a long way for a franchise. But I would have been relatively okay. I know people expected more. I understand why. But I would have seen what they were prioritizing, and I would have appreciated the fact that they wanted some more versatility mixed in with some more defense.
So here's where ultimately I end up. I had reached the point, the more I look at it, I just wanted CJ McCollum dealt. Not dealt to be dealt, but there weren't a lot of packages where I was like, yeah, I don't care. I don't care.
If you don't care, Danny, I think if you're saying it out loud though, you're saying if you don't care, you kind of just wanted him to be dealt because they didn't run his course.
6 years of smashing your face up against the wall, over and over and over again. I'd gotten to the point of man, they've got to figure something out.
Right.
It's got to happen.
Right.
And you look at where they end up, and I've seen the argument that Mike and I were talking about this when I sat down with him earlier in the week. The argument that the Blazers had more talent on that roster. I can see that, and here's where I see it, honestly. It's not so much CJ Norm that skews it for me, but more Cove Nance, and I know how weird that sounds, but it's harder to get the bigger talent, the physically bigger talent. Nance hit the role he was supposed to play here. He never got a chance to play that role. And honestly, it kind of irritates me because, listen, I've always said, I'll give Neil credit for moves. I like the Nance move, even if the capital was a little bit more than I was wanting to. The Covington one with the 2 picks was oh, okay.
That's a lot, yeah.
But the Nance move, if I could have kept anybody from the players that they traded away, Nance was the guy that I wanted to keep. But for those that don't know, Nance being included in the deal was what got the TPE to exactly the level that it was needed for Jerami Grant.
Yeah.
So basically, you traded away CJ and Nance for Hart and Grant.
And you saved money.
And, yes. And you balanced the roster to where it made more sense.
I think that's the important thing for me, though, because I know we'll give grades, and we may differ vastly on our grades. But I think the important thing for me was, maybe the talent was better, right? But I think there's a difference between saying this player X is more talented than this player Y, and saying player Y actually fits better with what you have than player X. And I think they addressed some areas of concern. And so, sure, Norm's a good offensive player. We know CJ's elite offensively, scoring the basketball. We know what Larry Nance can kind of bring to a team and the impact. Those are good players. And I can see why people would feel, well, you traded out for lesser talent. Maybe, but what I would respond with is you added an ability to do stuff you couldn't do with
Previously.
those other guys.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's the thing is, in doing this, they were able to make a move for a power forward wing type that they have not, a hole they have not been able to fill since 2015.
Yeah.
There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. Jerami Grant is such a significant upgrade to that position. It's hard to truly quantify from what Portland has had there since LaMarcus left. It's not particularly close. Bouquet says, and it opened a position for Ant. That is true too.
True.
Without it clearing a runway for Ant was a part of that. It also is what allowed them to tank. I saw somebody in here who said you can't include Shaedon because we got him with our draft pick regardless. You aren't getting Shaedon without trading all that off.
No, because that was the embrace to suck.
Yes. And that was the other part of this where people were like, why didn't they bring back more players? Because they didn't want to. Mm-hmm. Because they wanted to suck. Because they wanted to suck, have the space necessary to bring in Jerami Grant, which, again, done deal.
They knew it was done, by the way.
Yes.
Like, before they made that CJ trade.
You want to talk about tampering? It was done.
Yeah, 100%.
That's why the exact dollar amount was there. But you look at that, the overall return, I think they did pretty good considering what the value was of those guys around the league.
Yeah.
I
think people, Danny, for better or worse, you're never going to change the people's minds who believe they got absolutely robbed dealing CJ. Mm-hmm. And that I'm okay with that because ultimately I think you and I are in lockstep and know that contract was a problem. That was not an easy contract trade. And oh, by the way, you were trading a non-all-star player for you wanted an all-star in return. Like, that's an odd kind of request to be having. So.
Especially one going into his year 30 season. Like, it's just, it's hard to really wrap your head around that. So let's go a linear here as far as moves. I look at the Jerami Grant when you're looking at it in isolation, a Milwaukee 2025 pick, and there's a reason why I kept saying the Milwaukee 2025 pick was enough. I just didn't think it was enough. I thought it was going to require 2025 and Keon.
Yeah.
But 2025 for Jerami Grant. I can't think of a transaction, a non-draft transaction in the last 10 years better than that in Portland's history. Can you?
In the last 10 years.
Maybe 20 years.
I don't know if
they clearly drafted Dame and CJ and Brandon and LaMarcus.
I know.
Like,
I don't know if I go 20, just to be fair to the 13, 14, 15 squad. Like getting West, for example.
Sure.
But I guess you kind of signed him more so than traded. Either way,
but that's an okay too. I said just non-draft, like
non-draft. Then I would probably give that team a little more. But to your point, like it's right there, if not 1A, 1B of they just hadn't gotten a player quite that level.
And that kind of shows you that the bar to clear wasn't very high.
Yeah.
And that's not a shot at Jerami at all. I'm very excited to see what he does here.
Me too.
But for me, that's an easy one to grade is at bare minimum B+, probably an A-. That individual transaction is a home run. Now, if you want to talk about what his extension ends up looking like, if it ends up, it's going to, but like, what does that balloon to? We'll see. And then I think we can have that transaction or that discussion around that transaction. But as far as acquiring him, talent for talent, yeah. If I'm trying to tell you, you have CJ McCollum who's more talented. I'm not arguing that. But what's more valuable in the league right now? CJ McCollum's scoring or Jerami Grant's size and versatility?
For a team with a player of Dame's caliber, it's definitely Jerami.
Okay. And I think that has to impact how you look at things. Does it for you?
Oh, I mean, yeah, absolutely. It's easy to say CJ is better, but knowing what you're getting in return for that, and oh, by the way, I know they're going to pay him, and they're going to pay him probably a lot, and people are going to go to Twitter and say, oh, look at this idiot getting paid. Our team's so stupid. Yeah, because everybody wants to live in pessimistic nature land. But, like, you get taxed twice in Portland. You get taxed on your income at like a 9+%, and it makes it tough financially. And then you get taxed as a team to even have the talent capable of competing. Mm-hmm. right? Like that. CJ got overpaid. One, that's Neil's guy, but like CJ got overpaid because we want to keep CJ here. We had no alternative options. We weren't going to make some huge trade and trade away CJ McCollum.
He wasn't going to trade CJ, and that was the thing.
He was not going to trade him. So what does he do? He has to overpay him. Hey, be happy, be here. And I know CJ loves it here. Jerami Grant, same thing. Is he an all-star? No. But he's versatile. He can play multiple positions. He's probably going to play some small ball 5 because they're limited there.
Yep.
And the part of getting him to come from Detroit to Portland months ago in a wink-wink deal is knowing we're going to have to pay a little more money for you than I think a lot of teams would be willing to do.
Give me a grade. What do we grade in the Jerami Grant transaction?
The Jerami Grant transaction to me is an A. I mean, you traded a draft pick you didn't give a shit about. And
it's 3 years out that belongs to the Milwaukee Bucks that has
Sure.
Giannis Antetokounmpo under contract.
Absolutely. And I have been fair, though. I've said the NBA's it's a fickle league, and Giannis could win a title and then it not work the next year and go, you know what? I think I want to go to a new place. I've been here. I love you guys. I'm going to try it somewhere new. We don't know if he's going to be the full Dame Lillard experience here. So that pick could end up being good, but I'm not going to play that game. You didn't need it. You weren't going to utilize it, and you're trying to compete with Dame on the fly of a rebuild. That's an A to me.
All right, let's move into another transaction. The Blazers using part of their MLE to bring in Gary Payton II. And for all of the guards stuff, you weren't able to join us that day, but I was able to have Sam Esfandiari on. If you guys want, you guys can go back that. What?
Shout out my keyboard. people have no idea that I was like for 30 minutes working tirelessly here, just going, hey man, my keyboard's not working.
I think
my
the
keyboard can't
exact text I think you sent me was the letters on my keyboard don't work. I told Sam, he goes, oh, he's a technical guy, is he?
Sure as fuck not. Let's just say I call my little brother whenever I have computer issues because he works for Adobe, and I'm like, he might know what to do here because I have no idea.
But we had Sam on, and Sam's line that is stuck with me is Sam called GP2 the best point of attack defender in the NBA. The best point of attack defender in the NBA, which Sam's not a big hyperbole guy. Like he is when he's joking and going full Joey Light years. But like he was like, no, look, seriously, he's I consider him the best point of attack defender in the NBA. Yeah. I wasn't really going to argue with him because I have him on the short list. Like I put him up there with Ben Simmons as far as like what they can do, and they just go about it in very different ways. Gary's also probably the best steals generator in the NBA. And again, this is where my grading is going to come from. The influence of what did the Blazers not have since Wesley Matthews? A point of attack defender. Yeah. They again, since 2015, a position of need has not been filled. The ability to stop the ball at above the three-point line. Mm-hmm. Gary Payton II is brought in to do that. So they took actual needs and addressed them. My God. Who knew it was possible? And they did it for relatively cheap. They applied just enough pressure to where they exceeded the taxpayer MLE, which made it infinitely more prohibitive for a Golden State team that's way into the tax to retain him. And they're like, nah, it's just too spicy. And so they figured it out. GP2's got some weird fits, and it makes sense. So I'm going to look at GP2 and go, you know, my only real qualm is that he's not 6'6". So can't go straight A, but I'll give it a B. I'll give it a solid B because he addresses a need, and it's not a niche need. It is a, we need to fix this.
Yeah.
And they did. And they did it on a value deal, and they got it done. When you look at Gary, which way do you go with it?
I give the same grade. It was a massive need for this team and this roster. I won't disagree with the people who are upset that they didn't go get the 6'6", 6'7" dude. But as we talked about, I think on a pod or two, like there just weren't that many available. It's not to excuse not getting it. Mm-hmm. I think Joe would tell you, like, yeah, I wanted a guy of that nature.
I mean, they pursued a guy in OG who's like that. So.
Well, but yeah, and they didn't want to sell off the franchise for it. So they said, we can get this guy at this number. And he was one of the biggest difference makers in the finals. He just was. There's no other way to view that. I'm sorry. I watched that series. I watched some of those games
He changed
twice.
the finals.
When he came back, he changed everything. He opened things up, and he had such an impact defensively.
Mm-hmm.
Sam, by the way, before you did that pod, again, I'm sorry I couldn't make that one, but he had sent me the stats defensively of GP's impact from 538. And GP was like number 5 overall in the league. Not just point of attack. It's like overall defense and the impact.
And he only played 1,200 minutes.
Exactly. So it was something they desperately needed. They got it at a good price. I know he's not as tall as people want him to be, but he's long, he's lengthy, and as you've heard too many times to count, he plays bigger. He's a big 6'3".
Yeah, and that's ultimately. So you go ahead and give it a B too.
Solid B.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna have you take the lead on this one. The Blazers tanked. They got the number 7 overall pick. They obviously didn't get the second pick from the Pelicans because whatever. Didn't turn out to matter because they were able to flip a Milwaukee 2025 first for Jerami Grant, but they also traded back from the 46th spot in the draft back to 57th and got Jabari Walker, who looks like not only a steal of the second round in the NBA draft, perhaps the steal of the entire draft. What grade do you give on the early return of Shaedon Sharpe and Jabari Walker?
Are we doing them as a joint grade, or are we doing it individually?
You can do either one. I will probably do it together and just call it the 2022 draft.
It's tough because there's such an incomplete with one for obvious reasons. When we did the live draft show, I was kind of excited about it. I like that they're taking a swing, and they're taking a swing on a kid whose upside, maybe it pops earlier than we think. And if it pops, maybe you got baby Kobe. We just don't know what level he'll be able to be at and if he'll stay healthy. The Jabari pick was cool because it was finally the addressing of size they need, a big-bodied kid who had NBA kind of lineage in his blood and understood what it meant to be a role guy and make an impact. And then he showed out for summer camp. I'm going to give that collectively. I'm going to give it a B minus. And I know that might seem a little harsh because you had your second round guy really show out, but because of the incomplete, it's hard to really go above that for me. I'm not mad at the pick. I don't second guess the pick. I'm all in on him having an impact at some point this coming season and getting some real minutes because I think Joe, based on my conversation with him, wants to play these young guys. He wants them to speed up this process of development and not be stuck on the bench for the first 2 to 3 years. He wants them to get real minutes, and I think they will. But if I'm to be fair on grading this, one dude who literally didn't play more than 6 minutes, and you had another dude show out. I like him, but I'm going to go B minus.
I'm going to go B. That's for all of the reasons you really just hit on. My only, I think, difference here is that I believe in the upswing potential. If he hits, he hits. If he fails, he fails. But I believe they took the biggest swing.
Yep.
The thing that I admire about Joe so far, and what I think has endeared him to people, is that he's doing what he says. He said, we want to take swings. My personal philosophy is I want to take swings. I don't want to, be safe. I want to take a look at the guy with the most real potential. If all things considered, that's just the way I want to go about it.
Mm-hmm.
We want to get bigger. We want to get more defensive. We want to play a certain brand of basketball. Remember when we were told, Dame was going to play more off ball and it would be more akin to Warriors-type basketball, and then they decided to not change the offense at all because they kept Dame and CJ the same personnel with Yusuf Nurkic and all three high-usage guys and all the things that didn't change. Well, guess what? Now they changed it. They changed it. They changed what they wanted to do. They changed their draft profile. So they took a big swing. Now, does it hit? I don't know. But they also took a guy, Jabari Walker, who he may end up being, again, the steal of the draft. So hopefully we'll get Jabari on in the next couple of weeks. But part of my preparation was looking at how he did against the rest of the guys at Summer League. And I've got it here. Where did I put it? Boy, I hate it when I move stuff around. If you look at Jabari's numbers, his ratings, I was able to pull like his per 36 and percentages and everything across that. Just check your normal typical analytics. So basically all your per 36s and percentage rankings. Jabari was either the number one or number two in almost every single category. Mm-hmm. The only one that he wasn't, usage rate, which means he was hyper efficient with what he did. Beyond that, he's able to already be the guy that kind of patches over the cracks without needing the ball up. That's what Portland needs.
He's a good off-ball player. We saw that in Summer League. We saw that he has the ability to move, find the spots, and oh, by the way, get the ball and then still find the man who's open instead of saying, well, I'm going to force the issue here because I'm a second-round guy trying to prove my worth.
100%. And that's the reality of kind of where they are as far as what they're trying to accomplish. And, sometimes you get lucky. I mean, there's a reason 56 teams passed on him. The Blazers could have had him if he's the best player in this draft. They could have had him in the number 7 pick. If they knew that he was that guy, they would have taken him there. But they didn't. Mm-hmm. But sometimes you get lucky. And it's been a while since the Blazers got really lucky on a guy. So, yay. I'm gonna give the draft a B. So if you're keeping along now, Jerami Grant, A, Gary Payton, B, draft B. Mm-hmm. Going along pretty good so far.
Yeah.
The retention of Yusuf Nurkic.
This is where the GPA drops a little bit.
Okay.
And,
so,
if Joe's watching, I love to talk about this stuff, and I was happy to get him on. This was kind of the one thing I touched on.
We haven't really. You haven't been on since you had him on air. So please.
Oh yeah, I guess I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
God damn, it's been a while.
Yes, it's been 2 whole weeks.
Yeah. No, I mean, we touched on as many things as we could in our window that we had them. The unfortunate thing of our radio thing is, it's not this. It's not a free flow podcast. No. And you go, oh, we're going 45 minutes. It's 12 to 18 at most, and we were told he had a pretty tight window, and we had 15 minutes. So just get as many questions as we could. If I was to talk to him again, and I'd love to, because he seems like a really nice guy, I guess I would more just be curious why 4 years, and I don't even know if he'd give me a legitimate answer to that, because GMs will only give you so much with that stuff. This is where my grading is going to go a little bit down. I understand wanting to keep Nurkic because your starting center options were a little limited maybe on the market, but I was willing to get weird with that. Mm-hmm. I really was. Like, if you told me they went 2 years, $25 million from Obama, I would have been like, cool, let's run it. Let's see what that is. Like, you're already in kind of a rebuilding wonky situation anyway. So the starting over to a certain extent even more, I would have been A-okay with. Mm-hmm. I'm willing to take that risk. I think a couple things happened here. You had to shut him down to lose games. Otherwise, he was going to win you a few. And you weren't going to get him to do that in a contract year unless there was a wink and a nod. Mm-hmm. I don't know how real some of the other options would have been to land. Maybe Mo or Valanciunas or whatever, whoever got paid less out there, how realistic it was. And oh, by the way, this is Dame's good friend. Not that that's going to stop everything, but
it's something it has to be considered.
So I'm not mad at keeping Nurk. I was ready to move on. I'm more like, why did they need to give 4? I do not understand why there's not a 3 and a 1, why a 2 and a 1 couldn't have been done. It's Nurk's last big contract, so sure, but 4 years guaranteed for me, even though it can be a tradable contract at some point. The 4 years to me threw me through a loop. So I'm unfortunately, I'm going to go down to a C- with that, just because I was ready for a complete start over at that position anyway.
Okay. I'm not going to bury a lead. I'm going to go a C. And for a lot of the reasons that you mentioned.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be less harsh on the 4th year after talking to everybody in Vegas and understanding what, and then by everybody, I mean other league personnel outside of the Blazers, understanding what the salary cap is going to be in 4 years.
100%.
And that's where that fourth year bothers me less, the money part of it. Now, the guarantee is where I get a little worried here.
Me too, by the way. That's my sticking point, is the guaranteed fourth year, not the salary annual, whatever. It's the year guaranteed.
And it's not because of the money, it's because of injury. I worry at 32 years old, Yusuf Nurkic, what world he would be in. Like, that's just
right.
But you're also going to have, at that point in time, what ends up being a relatively normal trade chip contract. Now, whether or not they can do something with that expiring contract, that'll be the first test of this kind of this organization's, 4 year later path, like where they find themselves. But as much as, again, Bamba was a guy that I was obviously very much interested in. Isaiah Hartenstein was a guy that I was looking at, was like, okay, I could see him going that way. Starter, I don't know. If, Mitchell Robinson just decided to, leave New York and be done with that, and that was something they pursued with the MLE. But if they did that, then they wouldn't have had the opportunity to get GP. And they decided that the money spent at the MLE level was better on GP than it was on switching bigs. So,
overpaying, maybe reaching a little bit, overpaying for a new big that's a little unfamiliar with the scene.
Yep, and they decided we'll ride with Nurk. It's familiar. He's not bad.
No.
But it's gonna.
We kind of know what he is, though.
Yeah, but you're also kind of capping your ceiling and limiting your options as far as what you can do right now. Yeah. However, maybe they find a way where a deal down the road, at the deadline, a Miles Turner or a DeAndre Ayton, it's something that fits them a little bit better. One thing that we'll talk about as the season kind of gets going is the likelihood of Justice Winslow and or Josh Hart being moved, considering their financial point and where they stand in the league.
Right.
I think it's very, very interesting when you're talking about actually Winslow, Hart, and Nurkic as far as how those kind of stack up and what they mean to the team going forward, based on how they've kind of scripted that they want to play, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to give that a C. The other offseason deal, Anfernee Simons, 4 years, $100 million. What say you, Mr. Sprague?
I'm going to go optimistic here. A-, baby.
Ooh.
I wanted them to keep him. I was kind of expecting him to make more than what I hoped he would make because, well, there's a premium to ball handling, shot creating, and just being able to get buckets, as the late Bill Russell would say. So they locked him up. They kept him happy. He showed us, what his potential could be. We know what his off-ball numbers were 2 years ago. He was a high-volume shooter, and he still shot over 40% or right at 40% from three.
Yeah, 40.5, I believe.
That's what it was, yeah. And that's huge to me. That number doesn't bother me whatsoever on an annual basis. Again, you mentioned the cap's going to go up anyway. Nice little deal. I'm happy they kept him.
Shout out Anfernee. I've talked about it before. He was a guy who wasn't sure what his opportunity would look like in the league. And he got it, and he got paid, flat out. It's a guy who delivered on a level commensurate with his payroll. Mm-hmm. You don't see that happen all that often. So it's a very, very cool story. For me personally, watching him come in as an 18-year-old kid and get to this it's cool to watch it unfold. From the basketball side of things, I'm going to kind of toot my own horn here. For everybody who's like, he's all going to get a Gary Trent Jr. contract. He's going to get a Gary Trent Jr. contract. He was never going to. I told you he was going. The floor for Anfernee Simons was $20 million. That was the floor. What ended up happening is Ant balled out and Jalen Brunson said, here's the market.
Yep.
And then Bill Duffy goes into Joe Cronin's office and says, is Anfernee Simons better than Jalen Brunson? Do you think he's going to be worth more in 4 years? We're going to go ahead and take that $22 or $23 million deal, and it's going to go to 25.
It's a bit of a gamble on Joe's part because, honestly, we don't know the answer to that yet, but I don't blame Joe for saying, yeah, I'll bank on it.
I'll bank on that.
Yeah.
And the risk there is paying what they paid, $25 million a year on average, but I think it starts at 21.
I think it stopped. Yeah, it starts low and builds up
with his 8% raise or 5% raises.
Yeah.
It's not. It's the front end's the back end. I think is 27 or 28. But regardless, again, when the cap goes up, it's a cheap deal. It's a cheap deal, as far as if he delivers on what everybody kind of expects him to be. I'm going to go ahead and call it a B+.
Oh, I outgraded you on your guy.
I know
can't
you
believe
did.
That. Wow.
I want to see my guys get paid always. And here's the thing: everybody in the NBA is my guy. Even as much as I dislike Russell Westbrook, get the bag. From an organizational standpoint, I always want you to give them the least amount possible.
He did get the bag, and he is getting the bag.
I think it's a very good deal, and I think it has potential to be an A+ deal. So there's the saving grace right there.
There you go.
I'm trying to think. Bringing back Drew Eubanks on a minimum.
Well, there's a little more to it than just saying that, though, Daniel. There is, there's the idea that
he's the third big man.
He's your third. Your second is 6'7", and not a traditional 5. You're probably going to run again Jerami Grant, some small ball 5, maybe even Jusuf. And I just based that off what Joe said to me. I'm not mad at Drew Eubanks being back in Portland. It's his hometown team.
You and I talked about this a million times. Him bringing him back is that big, totally fine.
Yeah, but
the gap in between is.
I have to grade this based on that gap.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna go D. I think they're severely lacking at that spot. Now this is what's great about grades. They'll have an ability to make me sound and look stupid in 4 months when they run small ball 5 and it's successful. But until I see that, I can only go off what I see on this roster, and that is your backup it's not even Drew. It's going to be Watford. And so not mad at you, Drew, for coming back, but knowing what is going to be relying on him playing at some point. You mentioned the Nurkic stuff. I'm not ecstatic and through the roof for it. So that's probably going to be my lowest grade.
Yeah, I'm actually going to follow you here. So if we both get dunked on, we both get dunked on. We varied a little bit, but I am 100% with you. I'm going to go D, and it has nothing to do with. It's not D for Drew. It's D for the
damn it
lack of depth.
There you go. Yeah, damn
at that
depth.
spot. And again, I'm more than open and willing to be proven wrong that maybe I need to have a paradigm shift about bigs in the NBA. But I firmly believe that you need to have a backup body, not for the playoffs, but for the 82 games.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about playoffs yet because they're not ready for that yet. Like, I'm not even getting there. I'm talking about the 82 games. I don't believe they have the ability to withstand. You don't have the ability to withstand an injury to really any of your starters, but the Blazers, because of the lack of size that they have throughout the roster, particularly cannot stand one to Yusuf Nurkic. Like,
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that.
It hurts a lot. When he inevitably misses 10 games during the season, how do they handle that? I am very, very, very interested to see what they do, because as much as I love Trendon, if he's got to go up against real bigs, he's going to get eaten alive on the glass. And while they have great supporting players on the glass, Nasir Little, Josh Hart, Justice Winslow, GP2, you better be rebounding as a team hard. Even then, I find it difficult to believe they can handle that, and the physicality of the 5. It is a wear and tear that, like, Drew got his butt kicked in those final 23 games. He put in yeoman's work, but he got backed into the tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, it's okay. I would prefer that they had a body there. And maybe that's just showing that I'm not fully embracing what they're doing. I'm open to that.
Yep.
But I can't buy into this no real body behind Yusuf Nurkic thing. I will say, it definitely seems like they win after Robin Lopez, considering Robin Lopez signed a deal and 30 seconds later Drew Eubanks signed with the Blazers.
I wonder where did he end up again? Rolo?
I can't even remember now.
Is it a bet? Well, I just wonder if it's a more contending team.
It was a more contending team.
Okay, then I guess I understand that.
I remember he did sign, and I went, who did he sign him with? God dang it. This is going to drive me crazy. Somebody in the chat has got to have it. Oh, Cavs. That's right.
Oh, that's actually a nice little spot for him. He can mentor. He's not going to be asked to do a whole lot.
Yeah.
I don't think that.
Jared Allen's had a couple knocks here or there. Evan Mobley still so he kind of rotate in there. So again, another 7-footer that they have.
Yep.
Rude, collecting them all. They kind of remind me, honestly. They kind of remind me of the 2015 Trailblazers.
Well, that what pisses me off is we make fun of the Cap franchise, and I'm like, well, they had Ron Harper. They got LeBron, they had Terrell Brandon, they've got Mobley, they've got Allen. You know what? They had Kyrie, they got Garland. Cleveland gets nice things.
They
I'm
do.
Sorry.
They've had really good players.
Yeah. Anthony Bennett.
You made me choke on my own tongue. But yeah, I am giving that a D.
Yeah.
But I think that rounds out all the new off-season acquisitions. Obviously, Josh Hart, Dede, Winslow, those guys all came in the other transactions. And we kind of went over all those already. Overall, off-season grade.
Yeah.
We talked about this over and over and over again. We will grade this come August. We are there. Senor Sprague.
Yeah. So, to be fair to the grading system, when I said solid grade, like a D, I went 65. I went dead middle. When I said minus, I went bottom. I went 80.
Mm-hmm.
A minus 90, etc. I just calculated it, and my averages of all those grades come out to exactly an 80. And to be honest with you, that feels pretty fair.
Mm-hmm.
I think they addressed some areas of concern, and I think they tried but whiffed on some other areas. And this is always going to be an evolving roster too. Like this isn't. It's done. It's over.
Shout out Joe for being bluntly honest.
And
so
he told
far
me
for
that,
a year
yes,
almost.
He has told everybody that, and I do appreciate that. But my final grade is a B minus for their offseason.
I am going to go with a B. And the only reason I think I'm going to grade them higher than you were grading them is, and I firmly agree with your reasoning. Yeah. My difference here is the willingness to try.
Sure, which is great. I don't fault you for that.
The lack or inability to pursue real change under the previous administration is what frustrated me to no end. And so the fact that they are willing to try. I wish, we can add another thing here since we've already given our grades, but I'll say this. Dame's extension.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I want the statue. I want the flowers. I want Tim Duncan. I want Dirk. So, A.
Go ahead and call it an A and call it good.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
So, but this is, it's like you said, and Joe has said, it's not done. There are, for all of the folks out there that have said, your Joe Cronin homers or something along those lines, I didn't love every single thing he did. I think he did really well.
I just ended by giving him a D.
Exactly.
Well, here's my thing. I'm not haunted by past things here in Portland, like draft picks and trades and, we can't do it. It didn't work out.
Yeah.
That's why I was okay with Shaedon. Like, it's a risk. It might not work. It might be the next whatever pick. It's Telfair, right? But the one thing I kept thinking about, because I knew we were going to do this pod this week, when you talk about grades and expectations, I think some people's expectations were absolute Looney Tunes.
Yes.
Like, I think people acted like they weren't really high expectations, and then the offseason happened, and they didn't get OG Anunoby, and then they didn't get this player, and they didn't get bigger here. And I think people instantly went, well, I thought they were going to do this, I thought they were going to do that. I think they realized their expectations were a little out of whack. That's not to say that my grading system is correct.
No.
But it's to simply point out that I think some expectations were just never going to be met. And ultimately, how would I have viewed the last guy in charge? I think he would have run back the team.
Yeah.
Like, I would not have been shocked if he said, I'm going to go Rocco, Norm, Dame, CJ again. And so because of that past, to your point, we saw a dude willing to roll the dice, actually wheel and deal and get a player for an asset they didn't care about, sign a guy that helps and addresses a really big need at a point of attack, and still keep the young asset while maintaining the franchise player. Like, a lot of that is tough to balance.
They ticked a lot of boxes. Now they got to see what they can do with it.
Exactly.
James Edward Lee says Downer Sprague and Optimus Danny. Duh.
What?
I think you're wrong on both those.
Am I being a downer, Brandon?
I think because you're graded lower than I am, because I'm normally
Brandon.
the downer. And here's the thing, and this isn't to downplay what Joe has done. You could have put just about anybody in Joe's place and done what Joe just did. I would be singing the same thing. It has. I shouldn't say it has nothing to do with Joe, because
I don't know Joe. Joe doesn't know. I don't know Joe at all. I interviewed him one time. Like, that's all I know about Joe.
I have talked to him about a half dozen times now, and in those conversations, every single one of them is better than every single interaction I ever had with Neil O'Shea. Does that influence how I think about things? No. Do I look at it and maybe give him benefit of the doubt right now early on because there's not 10 years worth of evidence? Hell yes.
Sure.
Am I looking at this and maybe grading it on a sense of, like, let's see what happens? Yeah. Because there's been a willingness to do something, and that's all I've ever wanted.
If you're in traffic and the dude that cuts you off with the huge ass truck who lives in the suburbs, and then, like, you honk and he flips you off, are you openly rooting for him to get home before you? Probably not. But if the guy in the merge lane kind of indicates, like, hey, go on in, and lets you in, you're probably going to look to return that favor at some point if possible. Like, that's what we're talking about here.
Yes.
That's
a really good analogy. I hate you for that.
Well, I mean, but at the end of the day, it kind of is what it is.
Yeah.
Like, I was always honest about the moves Neil made. Some of them I was wrong on, by the way. But, like, I could always see how stagnant it was becoming. And then you add the fact that he was a douchebag. Doesn't make it better. But
it's something you certainly think about.
I mean, it's just a human nature.
Yeah.
Why am I going to root for the asshole every time? Like, I'm sorry. What you want from me? I'm being honest.
No, and that's part of it. One thing I always try to do is I do try to check those biases before this, or before I do video content, or before I write anything, or before I get on the air. But they do inform them.
Yeah.
Like, if the likelihood of me giving somebody a benefit of the doubt, that's gonna happen. Andrew asks, can we have a greater discussion about the front office moves and the lack of changes to the coaching staff? We'll dive into that stuff as we get closer to training camp. I think that's a good idea to talk about. Now that I have a better understanding of kind of what the roles are in the front office, I got a lot of insight into that down in Las Vegas. I only got a few minutes with Schmitz, but I did get to talk to Sergey for about 20 minutes, and I got to say, this is off the rails, but one of the nicest human beings I've ever met in my entire life.
Oh, really?
Just the nicest dude you will ever come across. Yeah. I'm honestly, I'm really, really looking forward to working and talking with him over the next couple of years.
That's cool to hear. I would say there was a guy on that previous regime that's now running it. I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but what I'll say is I think he learned a lesson of courtesy and real culture building, where it was like, it was said out loud with the last guy. It clearly wasn't followed because look how he was fired. So I think there was a real, hey, I'm putting this team of people together. This is a quality I'm looking for, is you don't have to operate as this particular attitude. You can be respectful to people and still do your job.
Somebody was asking, Kokoton, will you be going to the preseason game up in Seattle? I am trying to make that happen.
I'm thinking about doing it. Because
do you want to go?
I'm thinking about it. I don't want to commit right now. I don't know what the date of that game is.
I think it's the 4th. We both have to be back in the morning. Or Or we call our boss and say, how about we switch? Remember what they were going to do to us? Remember what they were going to do to us?
I do remember that.
So I say we put that out there.
I'm definitely interested because I love that they're doing that. Basically, tease, hey, Seattle, you want that team?
Yeah.
Do another game.
They're doing it Climate Pledge, otherwise known as the Crack House.
Otherwise known as the arena that Ballmer could have owned a team in had he just been willing to fork over money that he's now willing to fork over.
Whatever.
But yes.
But yeah, no, I very much want to go up there because it's an NBA game in Seattle. It'd be a fun deal, and I've got a bunch of folks there. Mark says it's on a Monday. Yeah, no, I know it's a. I mean, listen, I'll tell you right now, Sprague, I'll drive. I'm down. I'm down for the road trip. So
I'm super interested. That's for sure.
I think we could make that happen where, I come in and do the morning show with you, and then we go.
They're playing the Clippers, right?
Yeah.
That's who they're playing?
Yeah, playing the Clippers. So we gotta find a way to work that. I will say, to get out of here on this, I'm really sorry to you and Dirt, because I had lamb and jasmine rice and lentil soup in the studio today for lunch. And that is
Say no more.
That is
Say
going to
no more.
stink something awful in the morning.
Did you throw it away in the trash?
Uh-huh.
That's an asshole move. You are now the 1080. You are now the 1080 truck. You cut me off. I'm sitting here just like giving you one of these.
I thought about that when I was driving home, and I was like, "Damn, I didn't throw that away in the other trash can. That's in the studio trash. It was delicious."
I got yelled at one time for throwing something in that trash can away. I threw a banana peel, and I got yelled at by Isaac Robb.
That's weird because I throw a banana peel in that trash can every day.
He effing hates it, and he will find out that you do it, and eventually he will have a conversation with you.
I'm just gonna do it. It was Brandon.
Wow, and he would believe you too.
But yeah, again, thank you all. We appreciate you. Thanks for being back. It's good to be back. Like, rate, review, subscribe. Help us grow the show. I will start dumping content. I have the Gary Payton video. I'm sorry, I'm a jerk. It's like 95% done. I need to spend a half hour on it. I slipped a rib, and I want to die. I have done really not much for the last couple days, other than work out. And I know how insane that sounds, to work out with a slip rib, but I'm an idiot, and I need to do it. So I will have that out sometime either this weekend or going into next week, as well as hopefully we will have schedules for the interviews coming up very quickly. Other than that, we got anything else coming up, Brandon?
Not that I can think of top of my head.
So, all right. So, thank you guys very, very much. We appreciate you. Like, rate, review, subscribe. Help us grow the show. You can find us on social media at Danny Marang, at Brandon Sprague, at Jacked Ramses. You can find Brandon and I at 1080, Brandon from 6 to 9 with his co-host, Andy, Dirt Johnson, and me, and Dusty from noon to 3 at 1080. Danny and Dusty, Dirt and Sprague. Still weird to say it out loud.
But it feels good, don't it?
It does. Honestly, man, driving down the road, every time I hear an ad read,
A promo?
it's
Yep.
weird. It's ribbed. It's cool. I'll say that. I am still on cloud 9. So until next time, I think we'll go on Sunday. Maybe.
I should be good to go Sunday.
I think we're gonna cut it down to like 1.5 times a week here for like the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I got some stuff. Yeah.
Not just that, we're not gonna have any news. We're not gonna have any news for a little while. I'll do some evergreen content and stuff like that, and we'll just come in here and see you guys, and then we will kind of start getting back into it. So until then, take care, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Stay safe. Drink your water. Don't get cooked in the sun because it's supposed to be a bajillion degrees again this weekend.